Here are 3 films to expand your consciousness in less than an hour, except for the last one, which is 4 hours, but which is spectacular and worth watching, at least in part. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Eliane. I have a master's in Jungian dream analysis and occult symbolism, and I'm a writer, teacher, PhD researcher, and shapeshifter. Stop asking questions and just let your inner child play. Number 1 is COINTELPRO 101 by the Freedom Archives. Now, if you aren't familiar with this not very well-known acronym, but you are into exposing the government for all its bullshit, then this is definitely for you. COINTELPRO stands for Counterintelligence Program. These were a series of illegal operations carried out by the FBI, and they were used to surveil, disrupt, and silence domestic American political parties, including feminists, environmentalists, and Black Power movements, among many more. This was all supposedly between the 50s and the 70s, but basically the film shows us how deeply and deliberately the government has strategized to make sure that racial and social justice are never a thing. And this one you can catch on Vimeo. Number 2 is Anima Mundi by Peter Downey. Okay, so I lied. This one is 77 minutes. But if you're worried about the future of the planet, which I know, who isn't, right? This film did give me some hope. It basically lays out a way of life that incorporates technology, the environment, spirituality, in a way that would be so beautifully sustainable and inclusive for everyone on the planet. And number 3 is Century of the Self by Adam Curtis. Now, this one blew my mind. It was actually suggested to me on one of my first videos suggesting films. This one and the last one you can watch on YouTube. And this one comes in 4 parts. And what it does in just the best and most comprehensive way is show you how Freud's discoveries of the unconscious were taken to America by his nephew, Edward Bernays, and given to corporations as a blueprint to turn the American worker into the ideal consumer. Bye-bye, American dream. Your mind will already be blown after you've watched part 1, so technically, still less than an hour. More. Here are 3 films to expand your consciousness in less than 30 minutes. Except for the last one, which is an hour long. And you can watch them all for free online. Hi, my name is Eliane. I have a master's in occultism and Jungian dream analysis. I'm finishing a PhD in rhetoric and cultural politics. And I'm a writer, teacher, tarot reader, self-proclaimed alchemist, and cat. Number 1, at less than 10 minutes long, is Alone in the Wilderness by Richard Pranicky. Now, this one pretty much has its point in the title, because it is about a man alone in the wilderness, but specifically the wilderness of Alaska. In 9 minutes and 33 seconds, Pranicky really makes you question what you've been doing with your time, what you could have been doing while you were scrolling through TikTok. A quick summary of the whole thing is him building a house, but just watch it, you'll see what I mean. Number 2 is Gimme Green by Isaac Brown and Eric Flagg. And they don't mean green as in dollars, they mean green as in your lawn. And what the film does is basically take that green lawn archetype and kind of ridicule it or expose it for its effects on the environment, the economy, and our entire outlook on life. This one you're going to have to catch on Vimeo, by the way. And number 3, the long one, is Schooling the World by Carol Black. Now this one really flips the switch on our idea of education. More importantly, the systems of power that come with education. Because our natural response to the question how to create generational change is usually education, specifically educating the children. And it was based on this assumption that the US government forced Native American children into boarding schools in the 19th century. And educators and volunteers today continue to travel around the world and build schools in traditional societies, convinced that school is the only way for a better life for indigenous populations. Now, this is a noble movement in itself and involves a lot of people who genuinely want to create change. But this film, in the best and sometimes funniest way, shows you the cultural superiority so subtly embedded in these projects. It's shot in the Buddhist town of Ladakh, in the northern Indian Himalaya, and it mixes the voices of both Ladakhi native and the Western educators. And like I said, it's funny, which is honestly brilliant because it's so hard to be funny with a topic like this. And it shows you the other side of education, the side that destroys sustainable agriculture and ecological knowledge, that devalues the community and ancient spiritual traditions. So yeah, check them out. Let me know what you think. And if you want more, here are 3 films to expand your consciousness in less than 30 minutes. And they're all on YouTube. If you're new here, I'm Eliane. I have a master's in Jungian dream analysis and occult symbolism, and I'm a writer, teacher, PhD researcher, and cat. Just rub me the wrong way and find out. Number 1 is What is Real Journalism by John Pilger. What's great about this one is that Pilger has been a journalist for over 50 years. And while his mission as a journalist is to work for humanity, he shows us how the journalistic institutions are actually expressing the designs and ambitions of the powerful. It's like an inside look at how the media works for the people at the top. Number 2 is a Paper Tiger documentary called Class Dismissed. It's a really critical and insightful look at how history is taught in schools in America. He shows us how a lot of historic complexity is simplified, how a lot of information always seems to be missing, and it poses really interesting questions about standardized testing, whether teachers are helping limit or expand student perspectives, and most importantly, points out a lack in race and class analysis in the textbooks across the US. It's got authors, teachers, students, industry insiders. It's a great watch if you think that you've ever missed something historically, thanks to your schooling. And number 3 is Subconscious War by Quincy Davis. Now, if you've read Brave New World or anything by Aldous Huxley, or you like Noam Chomsky or Marshall McLuhan, then you are going to love this. By analyzing Huxley's and others' prophecies from the 20th century, it shows you how our common principles have developed over the years, and how the media and our culture of violence have impacted these principles. And to a certain degree, a lot of this is brought on by television. Because since television has to some degree replaced the written word, important and very serious issues get very subtly morphed into depthless imagery. It really sheds a light on how mass media has desensitized us, essentially. You could literally watch all of these tonight, within an hour and a half, and you will have learned so much. And they're entertaining to watch. More. Here are 3 films for the aspiring alchemist. Number 1, The Holy Mountain. Now, I've said this before. I'm not even going to try and understand what Jodorowsky was trying to do with this film. But one thing that is somewhat certain is that he pretty much turned tarot into a film. So the film is kind of a long, symbolic animation of the Fool's Journey. And being an alchemist is all about being able to think and live symbolically. How do you know? I studied in college. Yes, I know I'm unemployable. Number 2 is Waking Life by Richard Linklater. This one was actually recommended to me by a lot of you on my last video, and I loved it. I don't want to give you any spoilers, but what's great about the film is that you can never be sure whether what you're witnessing is real or a dream. And it really makes you wonder if life isn't like that, and there isn't a more symbolic space than your dreams. And number 3 is The Matrix. And I mean the first one, that OG shit. If you're like me, you've probably already seen The Matrix like a gazillion times. But I swear every time I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't notice that. The thing about The Matrix is that it turns the essence of the Emerald Tablet into a film. From the oneness of everything to the illusory nature of existence, the limits of ego consciousness. Even if you've seen it before, watch it again and let it sink in. There is no spoon. Knowledge is power. Here are 3 films to expand your consciousness. And this is going to be especially fun for the Americans. Hi, my name is Eliane. I have a master's in Jungian dream analysis and occult symbolism, and I'm a writer, teacher, tarot reader, and shapeshifter. From time to time, I like to transform into a cat. And I love movies. Number 1 is Human the Movie by Jan Artis Bertrand. I definitely said that wrong. Now, before you commit to this, know that it is about 400 minutes long, but it's totally worth it. It's a collection of interviews with about 2,000 women from about 60 countries, all in search of the answer to the question, what makes us human? Number 2 is The Global Brain by Peter Russell. Moving from the premise that the Earth is an autonomous, self-regulating organism, the film basically mulls over the purpose that humanity might have on this planetary being, and suggests that that purpose could only be spiritual. And number 3 is The Superior Human by Samuel McAnallen. This one is so brilliant because it systematically challenges and renders absurd the idea that humans are somehow superior to animals, an idea that's often used to justify animal cruelty. Honestly, I could go on forever, but do you want me to? Here are 3 more films to expand your consciousness. Get ready, Americans. Hi, my name is Ilian. I have a master's in Jungian dream analysis and occult symbolism. And I'm a writer, teacher, tarot reader, and shapeshifter. Occasionally, I transform into a cat. And I love movies. Number 1 is The Crisis of Civilization by Dean Puckett. You can watch this one in full on YouTube. Based on the book by Nafeez Mosaddegh Ahmed, it's a kind of mashup between documentary, animation, comedy. It's basically an hour-long freak show about the end of industrial civilization. Number 2 is What Would Jesus Buy? This one's a super sobering documentary about the number 1 most negative addiction that over 15 million Americans suffer from today. Shopping. And it's funny too. And number 3 is Race, the Power of an Illusion. This one is brilliant because, as you can tell from the title, it basically deconstructs the whole notion that race is somehow biological fact. And really believing in race is no different than believing that the sun revolves around the earth. You might have to buy this one, but it is worth it, believe me. More? Here are 3 films to expand your consciousness. Hi, my name is Ilian. I turn into a cat sometimes. Meow. And I'm an introvert who watches too many movies. Number 1 is Lion by Garth Davis. This one's a movie based on the nonfiction novel by Saru Brearley, and it tells the true story of his 25-year-long search for his mother. It's about family, grief, language, and ultimately about the millions and millions of post-colonial stories that continue to go untold and unheard. It's 2 hours long and it'll have you crying for 3. And you can watch it on Vimeo. Number 2 is Man with a Movie Camera by Zika Vertov. I'm saying all these names wrong, okay? Now this one was made in 1929. So it's black and white, has no sound, and no script. So experimental is one way to put it. In a super original and meta way, the film basically gives you a snapshot of urban Ukraine during a time of revolution. It's a spectacular film. And number 3 is Hearts and Minds by Peter Davis. This was a coincidence. I don't know if these guys are related. The title for this one was taken from Lyndon B. Johnson's statement that for America to win the Vietnam War, they would have to win the hearts and minds of the people living out there. It was produced in 1974, won an Oscar in 1975, and has been super controversial ever since. A lot of American critics think it's not representative of the truth. But essentially, Davis uses everything from interviews to newsreels to war footage to give us a sense of what really happened in Vietnam, and to show us how devastating the war was for all the people who live out there. More? Here are 3 films to awaken the subconscious mind and make you a better reader of the science of the universe. Hi, my name is Ilian. I have a master's in Jungian dream analysis and occult symbolism, and I'm a writer, teacher, tarot reader, and shapeshifter. Occasionally, I transform into a cat. Number 1 is The Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind. It's really popular, so you may have already seen it, but if you haven't, it's about love, forgiveness, memory, and ultimately about the fact that presence transcends ego. Number 2 is Midsommar. A lot of critics dismiss this one as like an overinflated breakup film. But, and I have a lot of arguments about this, like I'm about to write an essay on it, the film does a great job in blurring the lines between reality and fantasy. It touches on a lot of ancient ritualistic and mythological aspects of culture. And even though there isn't anything explicitly suggesting this, it could be argued that the entire film is a dream. And number 3, The Holy Mountain. I'm not even going to try and guess what Jodorowsky was up to. You're just going to have to watch that one several times.